Well, hey guys, let's have some devotions together this morning. We're in Habakkuk chapter 2. We're picking up in verse 2. Yesterday we got started with Habakkuk and kind of made the observations that Habakkuk demonstrates great faith in his lament, that as he looks around and sees the sin of God's people, the brokenness in his culture, that he cries out to God and says, God, are you doing anything about this? And God's response to him is, Habakkuk, I'm doing stuff that you don't know about. There's stuff going on in your day that you wouldn't believe if I told you. It's not that I'm not working, it's that you can't see it. So Habakkuk cried out again and said, yeah, but God, I hear you say, and God had also said, I'm sending the Chaldeans, this brutal nation. What I'm doing to address the sin in your country is I'm going to send another country. I'm going to send a destroying force. So Habakkuk still goes, okay, I get that. But where is it, God? I'm looking around and I'm constantly seeing evil, and you say you're sending the Chaldeans, but I don't see it. It doesn't look like it's happening today. And so Habakkuk says, I'll tell you, I'm just going to sit here and watch. And we talked about the great faith it takes to say, God, I don't see what you're doing, but I trust you. So I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to cower in my room. Not going to, whine. I'm just going to wait on you. I'm going to call up on the watchtower, look that direction, and wait. Well, maybe a question that we should answer is, what did we do while we're waiting on God? If you're in that position where you trust God, but you sure would love to see him act, how is it that we wait on him? Well, verse 2 of Habakkuk 2 says this, and the Lord answered me, write the vision, make it plain on tablets. So Habakkuk, I've told you what I'm going to do. This is a promise. Make it plain on tablets so he may run who reads it. For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. The first thing we do while we're waiting on God is just trust that his promises are sure. We can't take the Proverbs and make them promises, and we can't take our own wants and make them promises, and we can't just think, well, all of my wishes are going to come true because I trust in God. But when God says, no, I promise, man, we can trust him. He says to Habakkuk, he says, write it in stone, put it on a tablet, make sure everybody can see it because this is happening. I just think even as you and I wait for the second coming of God or of Jesus, for generation upon generation, Christians have thought, well, is this going to be the time that Jesus comes? And many have lost faith when Jesus hasn't arrived. The second coming, the judgment hasn't happened in their lifetime. But man, write it on a tablet. It's coming. And not only that, is God says, look, cast your anxiety on me. I care for you. Well, do you trust him? Man, if he says he does, then he does. So Habakkuk's waiting with faith. God says, write it in stone. For still the vision awaits its appointed time. You know why you haven't seen God act? It's not the appointed time. God is going to act in exactly the right time. Do you remember that the New Testament tells us Jesus came at just the right time? Jesus is going to come again at just the right time. God is going to act in your life at just the right time. God is going to act in our culture at just the right time. And if you have been disappointed in waiting on God, man, take that to him. Cry out to him, but don't lose faith. I love this. What great advice in any generation. God tells Habakkuk, if it seems slow, wait for it. Guys, if you've been waiting on God, if it seems slow, wait for it. Man, have this faith, have this trust, have this assuredness that you are going to look back and say, God took care of me. Behold, his soul is puffed up. It is not upright within him, but the righteous shall live by faith. God tells Habakkuk, look, there's a couple ways you can live. You can either live with your soul puffed up, or you can live by faith. The righteous, those who are right with God, those who are honoring God and whose lives bear witness to his goodness, they don't live by what they see. They live by faith. Man, if that could just be tattooed backwards on our forehead so we see it every morning. The righteous will live by faith. How are you living? Are you living by sight, or are you living just trusting God? You say, yeah, I was trusting God, but I didn't see him act. Bad things still happened. If it seems slow, wait. Man, Habakkuk is a real person in a real time, in a real culture. It really seems slow to him, to the point where he said, I've had it. I'm just crawling up on this watchtower and waiting. If it seems slow, you can trust God. If that's all you need to hear this morning, you can trust God. If it seems slow, if his actions seem slow, wait. Don't take matters into your own hands. Be active, do your job, follow his commands, but wait on the Lord. Verse 5 says, moreover, wine is a traitor and an arrogant man who is never at rest. His greed is as wide as Sheol. Like death, he is never enough. He gathers for himself all nations and collects as his own all peoples. Man, this is so practical. And I hope I'm not oversimplifying this, but how should you wait, Habakkuk? Sober. How should you wait? Just know this, that wine, and you could put any addiction in here, I think. You could say, pornography is a traitor, or wine is a traitor, or love of money is a traitor, or I don't know what addiction you want to put in there. But God is saying, look, as you're waiting, you might be tempted to go to lesser gods. You might be tempted to not only take matters in your own hands, but soothe your own soul in a way where you're tired of waiting for God to work. And so while you convince yourself you're waiting, what you're really doing is, participating in the sin of your culture. Moreover, wine is a traitor, an arrogant man who is never at rest. Isn't that the truth with addictions? Isn't that the truth with bad habits, that it's an arrogant man who is never at rest? You don't get a break from addiction. It's every day. His greed is as wide as Sheol, like once your whole life, just like the grave. It's something you trip in, you fall in, you can't get out of. Like death, he never has enough. And he's latched on to alcoholism, to wine as the traitor. And he says, man, that's never going to have enough. You can either, in your puffed up soul, soothe yourself, or you can live by faith in God. And you think of Habakkuk up on that watchtower, and there might have been times when he just needed a break, when he just thought, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to pacify myself in all the ways that the world has to pacify me. Habakkuk not only is a man of faith because he laments to God. He's not only a man of faith because he climbs up on the tower and says, God, even though I don't see it, I'm going to wait for you. But rather, he teaches us to be a man of God, a man who follows after God, who trusts God because of the quality of his waiting. That it's not wallowing in sin while he's waiting on God, but rather he's willing to endure the real sorrow, the real suffering of waiting on God. We'll look at the Chaldeans tomorrow. Have a great day.